Why is everyone obsessed with buying? People are not obsessed with buying. Virtually every metric that we look at in the market right now demonstrates that people are not obsessed with buying at all. Man, I love these terms. Armchair expert, weekend warrior, backseat gamer, Monday morning quarterback. These are all, I had ChatGPT help me with this. These are all terms that describe a person who offers strong, opinionated advice, despite having no actual formal training or firsthand experience in a particular area. And in real estate, I deal with this all the time. You know, my dad has bought and sold 17 houses, and therefore he knows more than you. I Googled it, and it says this, and I'm pretty sure that's the truth. My uncle says this, Zillow said that. All of these things are meant to heavily imply that I have no idea what I'm talking about, and all of the information is just out there in your uncle's brain or on Zillow.com, which might be true, but maybe not. So today I just want to investigate a comment that came from my most recent mini documentary, which was called The Aging Homebuyer Dilemma. So the comment is right here, and I just want to say at the onset, I'm not hazing anybody, and I think it's cool to have opinions on things, and I think it's even cool to express those opinions. It's just that I think that it's my job to be scrupulous on some of these things, and I want to investigate it, and I want to figure out if it's true, and if it's true, I want to tell you about it, and if it's not true, well, I want to tell you that too. So here's the comment. Renting is like 50% cheaper than buying right now. Why is everyone obsessed with buying when prices are super high and interest rates are high? Then the second sentence here, basically when the boomer wealth transfer is going to happen in the next 15 years and dump tens of millions of homes on the market. All right. Look, I'm not going to go into the second line at all, because I think that's highly speculative and remarkably unlikely. That could be its own video. Let's just focus on the first line here. Let's go in reverse order. Let's start with the interest rates, okay? We've talked about this ad nauseum on this channel, and I talk about it with my clients all the time. If you actually go and just go back 30 years, you can go back 50 years if you want to, and look at the average interest rate. The average interest rate, I think, is like 7.8% or something like that. So objective, this is not my opinion, objectively, the interest rates right now are, if anything, they're average. They're average, maybe a little bit below average. Even that being said, and even if you're like, no, I'll never pay these rates. Okay, well, look, I'm not an interest rate expert. I don't claim to be. But the people who are interest rate experts and the people who predict these things and have the formalized training, they're not armchair experts. They would know. They're all saying that in our lifetimes, those of us who are alive and having these conversations right now, we're likely never going to see that 2, 3, 4% interest rate marking that first number, that first digit in our lifetimes ever again. So there's a lot of talk of the fives, maybe, sure. And there are some ways to get 4s and 5s by doing buy downs and things like that. But the fact is the interest rates are what the interest rates are. The second thing, and this is really important to understand, is that if you get a mortgage at a certain interest rate and later on a better interest rate comes along, you can just go get that interest rate. Just because you're locked into your mortgage for the next 30 years doesn't mean that you can't refinance your rate or refinance your terms. It's always doable. Let's go into the second part here. Prices are super high. I'm torn because there's two ways that I could address this. I could go into why the prices are high, which has to do with supply and demand. It's inventory. We don't have enough houses for the amount of people that could and would like to purchase houses. Okay, so I could go into that. But I don't know if that's the best argument. Really, I think the better argument, it's not really an argument, it just happens to be a complete fact. If you were to just draw a trend line to look at home prices historically year over year, and if you were to increase the price by 4% year over year, okay, you'd get this cool little like hockey stick graph. Super smart, economically minded people think that this 4% year over year rate is super palatable because it kind of is the best of both worlds. If you purchase a house, that's a pretty good rate of return on an annualized basis, but 4% year over year isn't going to leave people in the dust super quickly. If we go back and look at that trend line, you'll notice something real interesting is that we're just following that 4% year-over-year line. It ends up about where we're at right now. Now, I think the reason that it has felt like prices have increased at an exponential and exorbitant rate is because we had that drop-off in 2008. And so then the home prices had to catch back up to the trend line, but they really did just catch up to the trend line, and they kind of hovered around the top of it there around 2021, and it's pretty close to meeting it. So prices are super high. They feel super high, but objectively, are they? According to the trend line, no. You can argue that in the comments if you want to, but I just think that there's definitely an argument to be made that it's really not as high as we think it is. This next part, why is everyone obsessed with buying? People are not obsessed with buying. Virtually every metric that we look at in the market right now demonstrates that people are not obsessed with buying at all. Average duration on market is like triple, sometimes quintuple, depending on the area. List to sales price ratio is down. Average sales price is down a smidge. Not a lot, but a smidge. That's the supply and demand thing. Every metric that we measure indicates that people are not obsessed with buying. So that's just speculative and just not really what we're experiencing on the ground. Finally, renting is like 50% cheaper than buying right now. I got really curious about this. Now, maybe where this individual lives, that's true. I did a quick search across the interwebs and could not find any examples of this. What I found is that the national average is that it's about 37% cheaper to rent versus buying. I went and looked at every major city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, which is where I practice real estate, and I found that on average it was 29% cheaper to rent in the DFW Metroplex than to purchase. This argument, however, completely misses the point. People don't buy homes for the purposes of getting a lower monthly payment. That misses the point completely. People buy homes on the long term because of the equity capture. How often do you buy a stock that you get to take advantage of while you're waiting for it to appreciate in value, right? That's the hardest thing about the stock market, is that you have to put your money into it, and then it sits there and you can't touch it, and sometimes it goes down and sometimes it goes up just a little bit, and you just have to sit there and twiddle your thumbs and kind of not pay attention to it until it gives you a big enough return to go, ooh, that was worth the investment. Houses are not like that. You get to put your money into it, and then you get the advantage of living in it. You get to live there. You get to do what you want to with it. You get to improve it if you want to. And over time, it continues to increase in value, and it pays you back for living there. That's why people buy houses, first and foremost. Second, it's more stable and it's more predictable. You don't have a landlord who can raise your rent every couple of years because the rate went up, their taxes went up, etc. Your principal and interest payment stays exactly the same. Perhaps least important is you get to do whatever you want with it. It's your house. You can paint it. You can add the balcony. You can put a waterbed in it. You can do whatever you want to. It's your house. Get as many dogs and cats as you want to, as long as it's within the local codes and ordinances. You can do what you want. If you found this video insightful or enjoyable, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to this channel. It really helps me a lot to be able to create more content like this.